Hello, my happy shiny puppy. This is Melody Fletcher. You know who I am. I'm not going to announce it every time anymore. So it is day 22 of my 30-day video challenge. And during yesterday's video, I had an idea. Something came to mind. This concept that, we could all be crazy. And it's oftentimes, as you get into this work, it's a belief that you might bump up against that, what if I'm insane? What if I'm totally delusional? Especially as you start to really expand your perspective well outside of what society has said is normal or acceptable or reality or whatever. Just insert all the air quotes, Anyway, and so, I had a question recently that, if I could talk about schizophrenics, are they actually reading energy or are they just hallucinating? And I thought, let's expand on that and talk about just insanity as general. Because again, there's that fear. It's certainly a fear that I bumped up against a number of years ago, that if I hadn't cleared that, I wouldn't have been able to go any further because I just kept hitting that limitation that I couldn't let go. I couldn't allow my mind to expand further because what if I, am crazy? And kind of had to realize that there's a fair to middling chance that, I'm in an insane asylum somewhere, strapped down and just, looking at the wall going, you create your own reality. And if that's the case, oh well, but something that I realized a long time ago is that we are all delusional. Every single one of us, we're all delusional. Because we all are translating this, soup of energy into whatever we translate it into. No two realities are the same. It's all our own reality. And then we call that real. And, whenever we say this is all there is, that's a delusion. When we say I know something, I figured it out, that's a delusion. And so the trick for me is to become aware of the fact that it's a delusion and to create a delusion that serves you. And, it's not the same as sort of believing that Brad Pitt is your husband and Brad Pitt's never met you, so it's like, I'm married to Brad Pitt and he has no idea who you are. That's a type of delusion, sort of a clinical delusion. I'm not talking about that because that's not a delusion that serves you. You're not getting what you want. That's a delusion that comes from the pressure of suppressing what it is that you really want. And so when we create a delusion, we understand it's a delusion, it's sort of like stepping outside the game and playing the game from the point of view of knowing it's a game. So the delusion that, I could be standing in a pile of shit and I decide to focus in a way that allows me to feel better, that's a kind of delusion. I'm aware that there's a pile of shit, but I'm gonna focus in a way that makes me less aware of it, not ignoring it, but just deciding what do I gotta do with my energy so that I can feel well and truly better. Not pretending to feel better, feeling well and truly better. And that could be called a type of delusion. The difference between that and denial is in denial, you pretend that you feel better when you actually don't. So it's about actually feeling better. And then somebody from the outside could say, well, that's delusional. So we're all sort of a little bit, crazy and insane and delusional, and we have to just accept that and use it for our purposes. So what about people who we consider truly clinically insane? So somebody who's schizophrenic, what's going on with them? And I'm not going to sit here and diagnose, go through every diagnosis that there is, but schizophrenics I find particularly interesting because they are picking up on energy. By the way, are you just hallucinating? It's never just hallucinating. Something's always going on. You are an energy being. Everything you're doing is translating energy. And so even if you're hallucinating something that, you might be hallucinating a monster, but I promise you something's going on to maybe you are dealing with one of your fears, or it's become, more clear to you, or something's going on. It's still a manifestation. It's always a manifestation, which is a translation of energy. So what's happening with the schizophrenic? Well, I had a really interesting event happen to me, I think a couple of years ago now. And I was walking with my sister, Tina, you guys know her. I was walking with my sister Tina, and I think it was Phoenix, Arizona, and we met this young woman who was clearly off her meds, big time off her meds. And she was sort of almost not even there, you know? She had just the thinnest thread tying her to sort of reality. She was not seeing what we were seeing. She was not perceiving, but she was able to perceive us, you know, and proceeded to have a conversation with us. And, well, a very one-sided conversation. We weren't really talking. But as I was listening to her, you know, it was really interesting because I understood everything she was saying. I mean, she was out there and she was perceiving. Whoo, oh my God, so awesome. Like, I thought, you know, if she didn't have such strong body odor, which she did, I would have loved to sit down with her for a couple of hours and just let the stream of consciousness and her translation of it hit me, because I understood what she was saying. So she was on a, you know, her perception, whoo, was huge. The problem then becomes in the fact that they're not able to sort of integrate, you know, perceptions. They're not able to integrate realities enough to kind of go, oh, I can still shower and take care of myself, or I can, you know, I understand this is here and that is there. It's all mushed together. Now, for me personally, I don't see that as a huge problem. I think that as a society, if we were enlightened, we would just take care of individuals like that and go, you know what? We're gonna wash you and bathe you and feed you. We're not gonna medicate you. We're gonna keep you safe, and we're gonna listen to you, because there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying. There's, you know, we could translate that into our own thing instead of just saying, you know, you're crazy and this is wrong. There was a lot of really good stuff there. Now, to be fair, she was not running and screaming from demons and anything like that. She was sort of taking apart the energy of language and 3D reality. It was awesome. But so if somebody is seeing something scary, you know, they're tapping into a lower frequency energy, and they could be guided to tap into a higher frequency energy. But their perception is bigger, you know, and they sort of, what they're really hampered by is this strong belief that we have in our reality that this is real and this is not. Yeah. And that's what's happening in the schizophrenic mind. And so it splits and kind of goes, you know what, we're going to make this not real anymore. And all of this becomes real. And then they can't coexist because of this either or belief, such a strong either or belief. And of course there's a way to heal that. But that's what's being reflected back there is that belief. And I'm not saying that no schizophrenic should ever be on medication. I mean, if they're harming themselves, if they're harming, you know, other people, medication could be a good sort of stopgap. But I think that the whole way that we're dealing with, you know, mental illness, oh my gosh, I'm getting on my soapbox here. But you know what? I just think it sucks, and I think we could do way better. And I think that there's a lot of people in mental institutions that are just perceiving more or differently than society thinks that we should. And you know, when I see people like that and I talk to them, I do sort of think to myself, there, but for the grace of God, go I, right? Because if I hadn't sort of made peace with that fear, if I hadn't released that fear that I might go crazy with all of this, that could be me. You know, and I'm not saying this to be sort of, you know, I'm not scared of it being me. I'm just saying, like, it could be me. And I you know, I see what is happening there. And so I envision a world where we deal with individuals like that in a completely different way, where we actually honor them and support them and take care of them, and no longer push against, you know, the different realities so they can integrate. And that integration would stop schizophrenia. That manifestation would go away. Okay, so that was a lot more than I really just kind of wanted to talk about. Never mind. What comes out, comes out. God, you guys, honestly, Okay, I'm going to go to bed now. And thank you for bringing your light to the world. Happy shiny puppy hugs. And I will see you tomorrow. Okay.